peace is really the new luxury, and I have a lot of peace living in this country because of the people, because of the history, because of the kindness. Ciao everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those that don't know, my name is Blair. I'm an American businesswoman and influencer based here in Belgrade, Serbia. So today's topic, I want to talk about the concept of being a foreigner, or at least a stranger in Serbia versus being a stranger in the US. And as an expat over the last 10 years, most countries and most cultures are very hospitable. Here in Serbia, it's my favorite place to be a foreigner because I am a guest. People are kind, they're friendly, and from what I observed over the last 3 years living here, people do not fear each other. And I think that's very important. Whereas in the US, Americans are very afraid of each other, especially if you look other. We do have this fear embedded in us since childhood that you don't talk to strangers. This deep fear, and I believe it has a lot to do with our history when it comes to other people that don't look American or who have to prove their Americanness. And part of the reason I left the United States was because I just felt so other living in my own country. And it took me some time bouncing around the world where I can find a place that I can call home, where I really feel part of the people, where I feel like I belong. And that's Belgrade, Serbia. Because I think Serbs are some of the friendliest and kindest people that I've ever met, even though people don't look like it, because on the outside there's that Slavic smile, which I'm working on. But when you talk to people, they really open up. I don't think people are afraid of each other like Americans are. Serbs are really kind, friendly people, and I think it has to deal with the history of Yugoslavia, where, and correct me if I'm wrong, from the history and from what everyone has told me, it was kind of like a utopia, like a harmonious republic, mixing different ethnicities and of different religions, of people working together and living in this socialist republic. Serbia and most parts of the world are a collective society. In America, we love to pride ourselves in bootstrapping and come to the country alone and building a multi-million-dollar business alone. And that's just a very individualistic concept of reaching success versus here in Serbia. And I've met very, very successful business people. It's more of a team effort. And Serbs are not afraid of each other in the sense of when you see others. I'm clearly an American and a Black woman, and people question and ask me questions with an undertone of curiosity. The only other country that was probably like Yugoslavia, where you had different ethnicities, the Serbs, the Croats, the Bosnians, and different religions, Orthodox Christians, Catholics, and Muslims that still work today, is in Singapore. You have three major ethnic groups. You have the Chinese, which are mostly Christians. You have the Indians, which are mostly Hindus, and then you have the Malay, which are mostly Muslims. Everyone gets their holidays. When it comes to housing, it is not segregated. The government has been very intentional from the beginning of the founding of Singapore, after it broke off of Malaysia, how to manage the three ethnic major groups and the religions and the cultures, and how everyone is equal across society. And meritocracy, at least at its purest point, where doesn't matter what your family's background, what is your religion, that you have a shot to make it. I believe Singapore is the closest to what Yugoslavia had achieved in the past. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And I just want to say that there is no institutional racism in Serbia. And somebody says, oh gosh, what about the Roma people? I traveled throughout Europe. When I was in grad school, in 2015, I took a whole entire 2-week road trip across Europe with my then boyfriend. We went all the way from Turkey and drove to Germany. And I saw Roma people all throughout Europe. Whether we were in Romania, we were in Bulgaria, Czech Republic, and especially Germany. And I've traveled to France and to Portugal, and the Roma people here, and correct me if that's the correct term to call them, they're treated with humanity, with respect. They speak Serbian. People interact with them, whereas in other countries I've been to and observed how the Roma people are treated there, it is night and day. Now, no country is without prejudice, but I would have to say, in my American opinion, in my observation, Roma people here are treated with kindness and respect and humanity. And prejudice is very different than racism. But let's get back to the topic. When you're a stranger here, not only you're treated as a guest, people have genuine curiosity of, what to Serbia? Why do you choose to live in Belgrade? And every day for the last 3 years, someone always asks me like, hi, where are you from? It's just a casual conversation. And when I think about it, in the US, I don't have casual conversations with strangers. I mean, we're very well known as Americans for our small talk and just like, how are you? What are you doing today? With our coworkers, but people are not just walking up to strangers and asking them where they're from. And now, especially with what's going on in our political environment, people that are actual American citizens and green card holders, I understand when it comes to Serbia, when people ask about my ancestry, where I'm from, it's really out of genuine curiosity, because Serbs, people here know where they're from, whether their fathers, the mother's side, the father's side, the village, people can trace their ancestry hundreds of years. We have a deep class divide in the US, and from, again, my understanding with Yugoslavia, it was pretty much a classless society. Everyone was kind of equal. Serbs, correct me if I'm wrong. Now we do see more class differences, and a lot of my friends are middle class or upper middle class, are very comfortable, young and older. But still, I've met many working class Serbs that have inherited property from their grandparents or their parents. I've met many Serbs that are doing quite well for themselves. I've met many Serbs that are working international companies or start their own businesses or work for local companies. But still, there's that whole collective, like, we are Serbia. You don't have that collective spirit in the US, like, we're all Americans, we're all in this together. That just doesn't exist in the US. I'm really relieved that I'm not in the US right now, to be frank. Because the amount of stress to live in such a society like that can really affect your nervous system. The only fear I have, I think, living here in Belgrade is when I do meet other Americans or a certain nationality who question, like, why are you here? How are you here? What are you doing here? Because even amongst expats, we love to categorize each other as in, depending on your level of seniority or how you're here or your class background, how people are going to give you respect. And it's quite annoying because I'm in certain spaces where I even stick out a lot more, and people are just like, okay, so you're from Massachusetts. What school do you go to? What do your parents do? Racial undertone from certain groups of people that I get, and it's just like, look, I don't have to prove myself to you. I don't know who you are. I'm living here my best life. And again, that's just an American thing, because we just like to classify people and put people in their boxes, like, okay, this is who you are, I'm not interested. And that's just not the case. Serbs have treated me with nothing but kindness, and hopefully one day I can become a Serbian citizen. I think Belgrade, I am not just an American, I'm not just a Black woman here, but I feel like a local at this point. And that is why I want to continue to share how amazing it is to live in this country, especially in tumultuous times right now, where the world feels like it is falling apart. And just my nervous system is at ease. I have so much peace. I feel like peace is really the new luxury, and I have a lot of peace living in this country because of the people, because of the history, because of the kindness. And I just cannot live in a country where every day you wake up in the news, it seems like, can anything get any worse? Thank you for watching. Serbs, let me know about the history of at least Yugoslavia and how I think it was pretty much a harmonious utopia for a short time before it fell apart. And how strangers, not only just living in Serbia, in Yugoslavia, but the whole non-alliance movement, and how Serbia at that time was really ahead of its time to be example to the world, where you can have a collective group of people of different ethnicities, of different religions, of different classes come together to build up an economy and a society where it's based on equality, from my understanding, and kindness, and not on racism and hyper capitalism. And at least, how do you feel about strangers, tourists, foreigners like myself living here?